Hi everyone, my name is Grace Magwaza. I'm excited to introduce you to this brand new episode of Leading on Purpose. Today we're speaking about the importance of integrating refugees in the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm speaking to someone who's going to give us first-hand experience of what it is like to be a refugee and how we can do better as a society in integrating them in the implementation of these goals. Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Divine Mugisha and 20 years old. I'm majoring in Bachelor of Arts in Psychology here at USIU Africa. That's all.
So paint a picture for me. How was it? How was your upbringing? How did you grow up?
So in terms of painting a picture of how I grew up, it would go back to a setting of a refugee camp. I'm originally from Rwanda, but I grew up in a refugee camp. Like since I was very, very young, I was in a refugee camp. So my upbringing was more of challenges of each and every day, challenges to get food, challenges to attend education, challenges to even feel like you are a normal human being, like you are just in the camp, confined in the camp. You can go out of the camp. There are all those restrictions surrounding it. So it does really feel like being a refugee, you are less a human being. Though yes, there are times you just have to tell yourself, anyway, I have to live, and I have to make sure that I'm living the life I want to live. But still more challenges are so many that it still more takes you back to that confinement and makes you feel like you are not living as normal other human beings are living.
What are some of the examples of the challenges that refugees go through on a day-to-day basis?
So when we talk of challenges, we do have a wide range of challenges. One of the challenges I would talk in terms of young people, because if I generalize, then we'll take the whole day talking about challenges. So I would like to talk about the challenges that young people are facing. The first challenge that young people are facing is access to access to basic needs. Okay, when we talk of food, we talk of clothing, we talk of shelter, proper shelter. In the camp, houses are built with mud. So when it rains, and the roofs are more of, they use glasses to make roofs. So when it rains, the most of the houses are leaking. So you find even when it rains, other houses they fall. So lack of shelter, it's there. Young people don't have even access to proper clothing. That's why we talk of girls who are getting who get teenage pregnancies, because they want to somebody out there, and I will call them predators or alligator. Someone out there promised them that they would give them money if they engage into sexual like relationship with them. So they go to that, they get teenage pregnancies just because they lack a lot of necessities. Talk of food, we do survive with what we call food ratio provided by UNHCR. So that food is not enough food to sustain you as a person, like even for the whole month. It's very little. So young people are facing all these challenges. When you talk of access to education, that's another issue. Not only education, but also quality education. Those who are going to school, they don't get quality education. Classrooms are crowded. There are so many things that are happening in schools that still more affects the academic performances of refugees. If you look at like people, young people who are graduating in high school, you see their grades are just so low that most of them, like, they cannot even have access to further education, like further studies, because their grades are so low. So all these are challenges that are surrounding refugees in each and every day.
So as someone who has risen above these odds, what would you say that it takes for someone to overcome these challenges living in a camp?
It's not only about policy change, because refugees don't these challenges that refugees are facing, it's not just challenges that normally comes, but there are some policies behind them. Okay, there are some policies that are being are in place that contribute to the challenges that refugees are facing. So when it comes to overcoming challenges, it's not only about policy changes, because policies rarely change, but mindset change. So when you look at, when you, yes, you are facing challenges, you go this way, there's a, you feel like there is a war, you go, you turn this way, there is a war. It's about changing your mindset and stop to and stopping to focus on your vulnerability, you focus on your ability. This really changed my life when I stopped looking at me as a girl, maybe girl living in the refugee camp, that's a whole different issue, as a girl, as a refugee, and I looked at me as a leader, me as a person who has a wide range of capabilities and abilities that would make my life better. So it's about the mindset change. Even if challenges will never miss, challenges will always be there, but you as a person, you need to decide, are you going to live to live as a challenged person, or you are going to challenge the challenges, you know. So what that's the first step. And I saw that the moment you change your mindset, it changes your perspective. So the way you were seeing the world also changes. You start seeing everything as an opportunity, while when you were in the mode of, you know, like, I'm a vulnerable person, I'm this and that, you just see challenges, you miss out opportunities.
You mentioned that you chose to study psychology. Is being a refugee part of the reason why you decided to study psychology?
The reason why I wanted to study psychology is more personal, but also me as a refugee. In the personal side, in the context that I I am very curious about people's personality, and also growing up in a refugee camp, I was seeing youths are like adapting to bad behaviors, youth who could make change. They were busy engaging into alcoholism. They were busy, you know, like getting these behaviors, you know, bad behaviors are everywhere. Bad behaviors are everywhere. So instead of focusing on changing their lives, they focus on this other thing, you know. It's easy to learn a bad behavior, that's the truth. So it the curiosity grew up in me, like, why do they have to choose bad behaviors instead of looking at the way that we are going to escape this life, you know? So the curiosity went on. Why can't they think this way? Why do they think this way? So that's what made me more curious about learning about people, but also in the context that after I'm learning about the behavior, why do they behave that way, how can I optimize their behavior, and, you know, like, promote their well-being, you know, like optimize good behavior instead of these bad behaviors that are jeopardizing their life more. So that was something that made me want to study psychology. But also being in the refugee camp, it's so stressful. And when I was in the when I was there, like, every day feels like you are suffocating. I'm telling you, you feel like you are really suffocating. You want to do something, but you just find like there are so many things that are just breaking you, and you feel like, why am I even living? You know, am I going to live this way the rest of your life? And that's the beginning of depression. So these these people, they are going through a lot. They have gone through trauma coming out of their of home countries, whatever made them, you know, like, to free their country. They faced a lot of trauma. They're coming to the camp place full of problems and challenges, another trauma, but there is no established body that is there to look after the mental health of refugees. You see that there is no that awareness to the people that, you know what, okay, there is something we call depression, there's something we call post-traumatic disorder, whereby you need to look into it to promote your well-being. Yeah, so those are the things that, like, motivated for me to be a psychologist.
Like a psychology student.
Like a psychology,
You
yeah.
speak a lot about the importance of education, especially in the context of refugees. Tell us more about your opinion on that.
When it comes to education, sometimes I feel like I would want to overemphasize on it so that people really understand how much it means for refugees. When it comes to education, I'll just give it an example. When I was going through my primary and secondary school education was one of the things that I knew it was going to get me out of the camp. I knew that it's going to give me a whole different life. Okay, it's going to change my vulnerability. It's going to change my family. It's going to change my financial status. So education for refugees is so important because that's one of the most sustainable way for refugees to get out of the challenges and difficult situations they are facing. It's normal. We cannot deny that if you go through education, you complete well, you can get a job. Okay, you can get a better job. Then you are financially empowered. Though in the context of refugees getting employed, also it's a problem because of all these policies surrounding refugees. But still more, somewhere somehow there is an opportunity for you to be economically empowered when you go through education. It's more of you go through the path, the destination is what is not known, but you always expect the better. So in context of refugees, education does not, it's so important. Talk of opportunities, that's the only way refugees can get opportunities. Talk of a bright future. That's the only way refugees can dream of a bright future. What else? Your parents ran away, fled their home country. They don't have any property to inherit to give you, like, my child, you can begin your life with this portion of land or with this portion of money. They don't have anything. How is your future going to be? So education is more of an investment for at least a bright future for refugees. Yeah.
When we speak about the Sustainable Development Goals, we often make the mistake of thinking that they should be implemented in the lives of people for whom everything is linear. But in the lives of a refugee, everything is intertwined, everything is complex, right? How do you think that as young people we can do better in actually integrating the lives of refugees when we implement the Sustainable Development Goals?
Before I talk about inclusion of young people in the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals, let's talk about our Sustainable Development Goals implemented in refugee camps or in settings of refugees. That's something that we need to talk about. Okay, why is that? We talk of sustainable development goals, we talk of quality education, we talk of decent good health, decent jobs. Okay, zero hunger. We talk about poverty, no poverty, issues like that. But if you look at like uh like what's happening in refugee camps, most of the young people don't have access to school because there is no enough space in schools. Even those who go to school, yes, they have access to education. But when we talk of development, sustainable development goals, we talk about quality education. Those who go to school, they're in crowded classrooms. Teachers are not that enthusiastic to help in educating refugees. We talk of like few hours of classes. How do you expect somebody in secondary school level to go to school for 3 hours? What do you expect them to learn? And they will write the same national exam as any other person. How do you expect somebody going to school but there is no teacher for the whole term? They don't even write exams for that term. Or they just say, no, this term we are not going to have exams. How do you expect that person to have access to tertiary education whereby they ask you to bring transcripts? So these sustainable development goals are not being implemented in refugee camps. even if they are implementing them, but it's not being implemented to the level that it can sustain, or it can bring, it can accommodate, it can accommodate the changing populations in the refugee camps. I'm telling you, refugee camps, like, it's the most it has the most growing populations than you can ever know. Like, you find that maybe 10 families or 20 families every 2 weeks are joining the camp. So schools don't expand to accommodate these populations, and things don't just expand to accommodate these people. So we talk of food. Refugees are not allowed to work. That's a policy that is there, in most of the countries in Africa that accommodate refugees are not allowed to work. How do you expect them to survive from $1 or $10 per month, the whole family of 10? That's not enough. And when we talk of buying food in the refugee camps, that's the most expensive place you can ever find. Food is very expensive there. There is no any source of income, you see. So people are dying of hunger in the camp. Where can we talk about no hunger? Where can we talk about now, okay, something is being implemented, now we talk of inclusion of some people like youths, refugee youths, in order to implement something better? There's nothing being implemented. Okay, so when we talk of inclusion of refugees in the implementation of sustainable development goals, I think that's a very important issue, because I think refugee camps are being left behind when it comes to implementing the SDGs, because there's nothing happening in the camp. People are not aware that there's nothing happening inside the camps. So when we bring in the refugees on the table, we talk of now getting the real experience, getting the real how things are happening in the camp, and people are going to be aware that actually there's some place that we are leaving behind. Okay, there's some place that is being left behind, so that they could be able to now look into it and come up with solutions and come up with the ways to also include refugees when it comes to implementing SDGs.
2030 is the year that the United Nations has declared that all of the SDGs must be implemented. And we are 7 years away from 2030. How do you think that young people can actually, whether they are refugees or not, can actually be involved in making sure that the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals is not limited to areas which exclude the refugee camps? What can we do as young people to be better?
Okay, so when we talk of the right time to start implementing the SDGs or including refugees in implementing SDGs, we should talk about now. Okay, it should start now. Okay, because when are we going to start? Because if you look at how things are going, then you would really know that there's nothing that has been worked. There's nothing that has been worked on. Talk of the goal. Okay, so the right time to start is now, because we don't have enough time. 7 years is not very far. With this our time, like, it's really running. This is 2023 ending. We just started it days ago. Okay, so there is no right time whereby you are going to say, okay, maybe we're going to start in 2 years, but it should start now. Okay, so that things can be so that people's lives can be changed, and this sustainable development goals could also bring in inclusion of communities like refugee camps whom they have not yet looked into them. Yeah.
I am so bummed that we don't have enough time to exhaustively speak about this topic. But to just sum up, I think that the most important point that can just generalize this entire episode is that you believe that it is important that refugee camps are not left behind in the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. And young people can actually do better in educating themselves about some of these challenges and not being ignorant to the fact that there's a population of people who are displaced persons and they also deserve to have quality lives, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It was such an honor speaking to you. To our viewers, I hope that this conversation has inspired you as much as it has inspired me. I will catch you on the next episode.